Hi everybody, welcome to my channel, and today I am going to do like a summary of the coin suit from the Eliphas Levi Clavicule de Solomon, the Key of Solomon, by Marco Benedetti. He reproduced the Eliphas Levi's original tarot, and I've been doing Drop 'em 78, so if you're following me, you might have been annoyed by millions of shorts over the last, 14 days. And I've been, basically the Drop 'em 78 is a card a day, and you kind of dig into it. It's the 3Ds, so you look at detail. What's the second one? Description, detail, and your day. So I've been doing that all this week, and well, for the last 14 days, 2 weeks. And so I've been through the whole suit of coins, and I wanted to just do like a summary of what I've learned basically from the suit of coins in the Eliphas Levi deck. And I wanted also to do a video that's not in a desperate rush, because to post the videos on as shorts and on Instagram as well, and for them to be available to new people or to be shared with new people, you have to keep the videos under 3 minutes. So I've rushed every day to get 3-minute videos done. So it's nice to be able to like talk about them a little bit more and take my time a little bit. I'll try not to be too long about it, because if you've been watching the shorts, you'll know a lot of this stuff. But I thought it would be nice to summarize, because I have learnt some things, and I think some of those things aren't necessarily talked about anywhere else. Like there hasn't, I don't think there's an existing deep dive of the Eliphas Levi deck that does all the translations like I'm doing them. And I Noah Mundi asked if I'd be sharing the information later, and I am thinking about doing like a PDF with all the things that I've discovered at the end of the 78 days, which the 78 days takes us to New Year's Eve. That's why it started on October the 14th. So it's like this whole thing. I'm going to finish the deck on New Year's Eve, which is crazy. But anyway, that's something to worry about if I get that far, because I have to say, it's quite demanding doing this every day and doing a video every day. But I've been enjoying it at the same time. So I posted my video today about the King of Coins. So that's taken us to the end of the court cards. So some of the things I've discovered about this deck. So I'm going to talk about some general things. So basically, in the numbers, so he deals with the numbered cards slightly differently than he deals with the court cards. So on every numbered card, he refers to the Sephiroth. And the Sephiroth are the points on the Tree of Life. My husband, who speaks Hebrew, says it differently, Sephiroth. But I think Sephiroth is the like esoteric European Kabbalistic way of saying it. So yeah, he refers to so this is the Tree of Life, and each of the numbers corresponds to one of these Sephiroth on the Tree of Life. So number 9 corresponds with Yesod, and all the 9s do, so across the different suits. So the swords will also correspond with Yesod when it gets to number 9. Number 8 corresponds with Hod. And I've gone through and kind of, with all the shorts, I've translated what these mean. But basically, yeah, he maps the numbers onto the Kabbalistic Tree of Life. So that's one thing that he does with all of, but it's only from ace to 10. He doesn't do it with the court cards. This deck does it with the court cards, and this deck is the Sambucus Marseille, and I'm not sure where it gets the court associations from. So the knight in this deck is Tippereth, and I'm being a bit cautious. The page is Malkuth, the Queen Binar, which actually is the same as the Empress, I think, and the King Hokmar, which is the same as the Emperor, if I remember rightly. So, yeah, I'm not sure how they do those associations, and some of these things have been influenced later by people like Aleister Crowley, so I'm a bit cautious. I don't know if those are Levy's associations for the courts on the Sambucus Marseille. But anyway, the other thing that's on the numbers, all of the numbered cards, is some kind of astrological association. And these can be a range of things. So here we have the moon, here we have Mercury, here we have the sun. So those are like planets. But then it gets more obscure later into the deck. So here you have les quatre points du ciel, which means the 4 points of the sky. And that refers to north, south, east, and west. And then you also have things like, what's on that one? Oh, there's Mars on that one. And Venus. Maybe it's further into the numbers. He goes into constellations. There. L'Étoile Polaire, which is the pole star. And then here, and this one, one of my lovely viewers helped me out with, because I couldn't work out what these two were saying, and it was Khan, I can't remember the numbers, but I'll put up the name of the lovely person who helped, because basically they uncovered this, that says Grand Ursa, and this says Petite Ursa, and that's relating to Ursa Major and Ursa Minor. And if you look at the constellations of Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, which is the Big and Small Dipper, they have 4 stars. And he's drawn these little dotted lines between these coins in each place. There are 4 stars in a square like that, and then they'll have a tail coming off. So that's fascinating. And then there's something here about the comet. So his astrological correspondences are interesting because they're not just planets, and they're certainly not linked to things like star signs, you know. It's nothing to do with like Taurus as we know it, or Cancer. It's linked to constellations and planetary bodies. What are the other ones? They've got the Milky Way is in one of them as well. Yeah, la Voie lactée. I can't remember what that word is now. But anyway, it's the Milky Way. Is it that one? I think so. And here it just says astrologique in the center. So yeah, he makes those associations. And that's been really interesting to discover. Some of the other cards also have these dotted lines drawing things together, and I'm not sure what the triangle refers to here. When I go back over these after the whole 78 days, maybe I'll be able to work out some of these things a bit better, because I'll have more knowledge to look at the cards with. What was the other one? There was the 10, and that one links these 6 discs, coins in the center, and that might represent the Milky Way. Ina from Tarot wondered if it might link to the Wheel of Fortune, which is the 10th card in the major arcana, and this is the 10 of coins. So there may be associations between the numbers and the major arcana. I'll show you another example in a bit. So yeah, that's been really interesting to kind of discover that. And then the third thing is the numbering system. So I did a little video about that already, tried to explain it a bit more. So he has 2 sets of numbers on every card. He has like a set of numbers, and that's actually upside down on that one, but that's 50, I think it's 56. And then he's like covered them up with a red blob. And then he's got a new set of numbers, 69. And I think what I worked out was, from various comments on other people's walkthroughs of this deck, particularly Marilyn from Tarot Clarity and Musings by Masha, they've done really in-depth walkthroughs of this deck as well, and people have commented on their videos, and through all that information I've kind of gathered that the numbers are like a Taya. So a Taya walks through the whole deck from 0 to 79. Yeah, this is 0 to 77, sorry. 77, because including 0, it's 78 cards in the deck. But he does it in a slightly different way. So Ataya goes through each suit and he'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 through the suit. But Levi counts across the aces first. So this ace is 77, the ace of the next suit is 76, the ace of the next suit is 75, and so on. And then so by the time you get to the number 2, you've got 77, 76, 75, 74, so this is 73, because I couldn't work out what that number said initially, but that's 73. And then again, 73, 72, 71, 70, 69 for the 3, you see, so that's how he counts through. So it's just a simple count through them. On the other hand, the obscured numbers, I think, I figured out, relate to the 72 names of God, and that is something that I haven't really got into yet, the 72 names of God. There's a website that shows the 72 names and how they map onto all the numbered cards in Eliphas Levi, but all the numbers that I can see obscured by these blobs are out by 1 from what the website says, so I don't exactly know why. Excuse me. Just going to have a little sip. So yeah, that's another thing. So the numbering system. And then there's also numerology that I haven't really dug into yet. This is an accompanying ace of coins that Levi included with his little collection of these cards. They're by Suzanne Bernardin, the original Marseille that Levi's deck is based on. And I have to say it's an absolutely gorgeous Marseille. And I think she's one of the few women whose Marseille decks we still have from that kind of period. So yeah, he added other cards, and these come from the Alouette deck. An Alouette deck, I don't know which one actually, but so he's got this ace, and then he's got Unitas Universalis, or Univertatis. Anyway, it's like universal uniting or something, I can't quite remember. But these numbers at the bottom I was a bit confused by initially, and then I figured out he's counting the dots, which is very interesting. And then I thought, I wonder if he's counting the dots somehow in this deck as well, because this deck also has like a lot of dots on the cards, but I haven't found any pattern yet. But obviously there's 3 dots there anyway. But here you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So that's that number there. And then here there's 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12. And then round the outside, I think it's 28. And then he adds those three together. And if I'm right, it comes to 66. 12 and 16 is 28. 28 and 28 is, yeah, 66. Oh, going mad. 40, no, it's 56. Okay, now I'm confused. But then 6 and 6 makes 12. So there's something here about the number of the dots and him adding this numerologically. So that's another thing that I'm going to be looking out for in some of the other cards. If I figure that out, I'll post it on the screen. Yeah, for the 4, he has l'amour. So these are kind of almost like corrections to these cards. And I read in the little booklet, which is very, very useful, by the way. That was written by, excuse me, Gwenaëlle Boucher, with a lot of really useful information in there. And they were saying that he was never quite satisfied with the Marseille. Like, it didn't quite fit what he wanted it to fit, which was like a logical system which could be expanded to other systems like the Kabbalah and Egyptian systems. And he wanted a universal system that could explain everything, basically. That's what he was looking for, which is really interesting. So here, yeah, you've got the Seal of Solomon, and the deck is called the Key of Solomon. And in the book it explains this whole thing about the Key of Solomon and the relation to the Tetragrammaton, which is the name of God, and how he tried to bring everything together. It was really fascinating. So yeah, that's another aspect that I've been very interested in learning about. Yeah, so sometimes the numbers do map to the majors, as I've mentioned. So there was that thing about the Wheel of Fortune, and actually it says at the bottom there, fortune inconstantia. So it's inconstant fortune, and that was like a reversed meaning. And I'll come to the reversed meanings in a minute. But yeah, the fortune link to the 10, which is the Wheel of Fortune in the majors. And then something similar here with the 3. It's Fortuna. But then he also links it to the Empress. I think that there is Impressantia or something, and that means Empress when I translated it. And yeah, so again, the numbered cards linking potentially to the major arcanas. But I haven't noticed it in all the cards. I'm going to have to keep an eye on it again, because that wasn't something that I've particularly read about Eliphas Levi's system. Ina from Taproot Tarot has talked about that in one of her videos, and it's quite interesting. In terms of that being a more continental tradition to read, rather than like elemental and things like that, you read across the numbers, the majors informing the minors and their interpretations. So yeah, that's also something that I'm looking out for. Oh, and there was a really interesting one, Vav. So this is the 5 of coins, and the thing at the bottom there says Les Claus de Prométhée. I don't know how to say it. But anyway, that means the nails of Prometheus. And the nails of Prometheus refer to a story about Prometheus being nailed to something or other by Zeus. They all like to torture each other, those crazy gods. And a nail relates to one of the Hebrew letters, Vav. But when I've looked at the major correspondences, because the Hebrew letters only correspond to the majors, they don't seem to correspond to the minors. It's out by 1. I think Vav corresponds to number 4 instead of number 5. So it doesn't quite work. You know, there's quite a few things in this deck that seem to be out by 1. And yeah, I'm not quite sure how those map to each other yet. But again, something I'm keeping an eye on. Some phrases relate to Taya's reverse meanings. So that's definitely something I've picked up. So for example, did I find an example? Yeah, so for the 6 of coins, Ataya talked about ambition, and Levi talked about the value of labour, and particularly in the reverse meanings. The 4 of coins, Ataya talked about a present, and Levi talked about the present of love. Yeah, so there were quite a lot of mappings across between Ataya and Levi. So Levi obviously built on Ataya. Ataya was before Levi, and Levi critiqued Ataya, but still took quite a few of the meanings, I think. As I say, especially I think the reversed meanings. So again, something I'm going to keep an eye on with the rest of the deck. Okay, Tetragrammaton, the name of God. So in some of the websites that I've read about Eliphas Levi and his kind of interpretations, there's the Tetragrammaton is Yud He Vav He, and that is 4 Hebrew letters that spell the name of God. And if you say it like in English, it relates to things like Jehovah. So some people think that that's the name of God. In Judaism, in Hebrew, you don't say it because you don't know how to pronounce it, because the vowels aren't explicit in written forms of Hebrew, particularly biblical Hebrew. The vowels were added later, so we don't actually know how to pronounce the Tetragrammaton at all. So people just don't say the Tetragrammaton, they don't pronounce it. They have all sorts of alternative names for God instead, which they are allowed to say. But Levi was really interested in the Tetragrammaton. And I've read some websites that say that each of the suits is associated with 1 letter from the Tetragrammaton. And the discs in Ataya and in Levi was the final suit. So it's associated with the final letter, which is He. And then there are elemental correspondences, apparently, with that. So He is, in some explanations, associated with earth. And I saw a very interesting video by Megan, which I'll link her as well. She's doing the Drop 'em 78 with the Mother Piece deck, and she talked about the page of coins or discs, I think it is in Mother Piece, being earth of earth, because the discs are associated with earth and the page is also associated with earth. And in one of the websites that I found about court correspondences in Levi, the page of earth, the page of coins was He, which is earth, earth. So again, like these interesting kinds of ways that Levi's system has kind of floated through the ages into our current ways of reading suits and elements and these kinds of things. But at the moment, I'm not 100% sure about his elemental associations, because that was stuff from a website. I haven't actually read it from his own writings, and I haven't, there's nothing in this actual deck that implies those suit associations. But anyway, still something that I'm very interested in. The court cards don't have the same level of kind of annotations as the minors, and they don't have these associations with astrological things. What they seem to have is phrases like the hom who gets rich, so that's the man who gets rich, the woman, the femme who what was that one? The woman rich and I've forgotten the word for it. That was from yesterday. The rich and radical, that's right. And the king is the rich man. So it's got those phrases, but then also the queen and king have got these. She's associated with the virtue prudence, and he's associated with a sun god, and also the disco bolus, which I think is brilliant. The discus thrower. So maybe a little bit like Ina has been talking about the Dame Fortune's Wheel Tarot, and Paul Houston, who designed that deck, added names to the court cards following the French tradition of naming, the French playing card tradition of naming the court cards. So it looks like Levi might have been influenced by that, and we'll have to watch that in the following suits, the other suits as well. Okay, so that's all I want to say about what I've discovered. I think Levi seems to construct the meanings for the cards from a combination of the Sephiroth associations, the associations with the meanings of the Wheel of Life, which are very important to him, and he includes, as I say, in every card, every numbered card. And then alongside the astrological associations that he makes, and also he's influenced by Atea's meanings. And then he also has these kind of myths or stories, sometimes biblical, sometimes like Greek myths. So the 6 days of Moses, the seal of Solomon, the nails of Prometheus. So he's got these kind of other mythical associations with the cards as well. And so he constructs his meanings with a combination of all of those things, from what I can gather. The Hebrew letters, as I say, only seem to be associated with the major arcana. And the suits are mapped possibly to the Tetragrammaton. The coin suit itself seems to have major associations with actually some of the lower numbers with love, interestingly enough. And then quite a lot of them with fortune, luck, destiny, things like that, with the coins. And then also money associations, wealth, riches, lucky in fortune, things like that. So that's what the coins represent. Obviously, coins meaning wealth, sort of literally. But this also is in keeping with sort of Marseille interpretations of the meanings of the coin suits. In terms of my month, or my last 2 weeks of going through this deck, it's also been quite focused on money. I've had a new job and so on. It was nice to get my significator card in this suit, and I found out some really nice things about her, which I associate with even more now because she's sort of representative of science. I'm an academic, and to do with prudence, which is wisdom based on practical and evidence, which again kind of speaks to me in my kind of academic role as a researcher and so on. So yeah, that's been really nice. So I have felt kind of connected to a lot of the cards and their meanings on a daily basis, which has been really cool. Yeah, and the study generally, I think, has added to my understanding not only of Levi's thinking, but also my understanding of later decks and the worth Golden Dawn, the Rider-Waite Smith, and the Crowley decks, which all built on Levi, and before him Atea. And then also understanding how the layers of meaning and interpretation underlie all of our tarot. There are crossovers with, Houston's Dame Fortune, but also with Mother Peace. And I've seen that in other people's Drop 'em 78 projects, which has been really interesting. So, of course, on the day we construct our own interpretations, even within Rider-Waite-Smith meanings, which are, supposedly quite fixed. People still have different keywords that they associate with particular cards, different phrases, associations that they make, personal associations. So hopefully, as we continue with this deck, I'm going to annoy you with some more shorts right up until New Year. But as we continue with the deck, my own system and symbolisms and associations will continue to develop. So yeah, thanks for watching, everybody, and I hope you're enjoying the project. Bye.